So as you dive into more advanced shapes with applique, you're going to come across concave curves and points that go in like this. And we do need to do something a little bit different when we get to spots like this. Because of the way they're shaped, if you just try and stitch them as is, it's really just not going to work. So what we do have to do is snip through the seam allowance, and you're going to stop right on the line for your piece. So don't snip through that line, or else you're going to have holes in your piece. We're just going to snip, I would say, about every 1/4 of an inch. And that's going to allow that seam to fold under easier. And then with points like this, we're just going to make one snip right in that point. Again, to the line, not through. Now we'll go ahead and start these like normal. When I get close to that point, I'm going to make a stitch pretty close. I would say a little bit closer than 1/4 of an inch, just to really anchor that down. And then I'm going to go down under and up straight through the point. And then I will tug on this and use my needle to tuck in anything that's poking out from the seam allowance. And then when you go back down, you want to go back down right in that point as far as possible without kind of dragging in the applique piece. And then again, I'll pull and tuck. And you can see that it creates a nice sharp point there. And then you'll continue the piece on as you would normally. Okay, now we can start on this curve here. Again, it's not really anything different than you've been doing before other than making those snips to the line through that seam allowance. So we can go ahead and start like we normally would. So we're just gonna tuck these under like we normally would, and you'll see that it allows it to make that proper curve. Now I would recommend trying to avoid making your actual stitch where you snipped the seam allowance. So you don't want to come up right where that snip is because it's going to kind of sever that line a little more. I've noticed that you can't see the snips as much if you go kind of in the middle of them. So having them there still allows you to make that curve, but you don't necessarily need to sew right on them. They become more invisible when you don't. So we'll just keep going here. And I would say when in doubt, just make really small stitches. I find that helps in a lot of things with applique. If you're finding it hard to move through certain spots, the smaller the stitch, I feel the more gradual the change is, the easier it is to work through tough spots like that. So if you're having any difficulties, try that first for sure. And that's how you do a curve.